Howdy folks, Scott Grove here. Just doing this quick video from my buddy James Saunders. He was talking about Sustainiacs, pickups that have long been put in. Mainly Fernandez was, I think, one of the first companies to put them in stock in a lot of their guitars way back in the day, and they still do it. And what they are is they just simply will enable sustain to last as long as the battery will last. So it's forever infinite sustain, and it will generate feedback in usable different harmonics and so forth, that will ring out and so forth, instead of being just feedback for the sake of feedback that's not musical. As most people know, feedback can be very musical if it feeds back in the scale and the root, the fifth, the third, or whatever that you're playing. So I told him I would just make this little video. What brought this up originally, me creating this, I'm using my Johnson Millennium amp, the very first modeling amps made, and what I do on all of these, because all the patches are 100% created by me on here, but on all of my patches I use patches. I don't need those stinking patches. I always make sure there's a 31 band EQ on every single patch. There's only room for like 4 effects that you can turn on at or even use at once, even map them through. So that was it at the time. 4, that's all you get. Sometimes 2, because some of them take up so much processing stuff, and that comes in with harmonizers and so forth. With this one here, I wanted to recreate the Sustainiac, the patch. I named it Sustainiac, and I just went through, because I understand all the different frequencies, and then every frequency that there is on an equalizer, and all the frequencies that a guitar can and will produce. Just like if you have, A equals 440 as well, so which octave are you talking about? It'll also be, and 440 is actually a frequency on your equalizer. Okay, 440 hertz, and you got 220, then 110, and on down the line, 55 way down there low, and it will go higher too. But not only the same note, but then you got to figure, the other frequencies that will be involved in the feedback notes that you actually want to happen, and to get rid of the ones that you don't want to happen, and sit there for a few hours, if not days, to create something that's not at an ear-splitting level, because like a Sustainiac pickup does not need to be turned up to 20 on your amplifier and get the feedback from your amp. Okay, so it's what it is. If you guys remember the EBO, which was a handheld, looked like a stapler that you put over your strings and hold it there, and it sustains forever too. It's the same thing, actually, just made into a pickup, and it's mounted on your guitar. Same basic principle when they designed it. The EBO actually kept your string vibrating all the time, and it does. Looks like a little stapler or something from back in the 50s. So again, if you have the ingenuity and the know-how of naming your notes, naming your feedback frequencies that you want to happen with each note, it gets complex. But then if you write it down, or just simply print out all the different frequencies and what the different harmonics that will be generated are, exactly right down to the frequency, whichever ones you want to feedback at what note, you can create an amazing thing. So that's what I did. I just wanted to show this to James and let him, he's wanting to do it with the gear he has, a little Digitech all-in-one little pedal thingy, and I can't remember the amp. He's told me a million times. I'm sure it's a modeling amp of some sort. So it's all in 31 band EQ is where it's at. So I'm going to demonstrate. There was, I hate to pick, no, I don't hate to pick on him. Anyway, Rob Chapman was doing, him and the Captain Crunch were doing a little review or a demo of where they talk for 5 seconds and then Rob plays for 15 minutes and then they could click back and then Rob will play his favorite licks again. And he had a Les Paul that he said was the one and only guitar ever, not just the only Les Paul, but just the first guitar, period, that was not, like Sustainiac equipped, that actually fed back musically on every single note on the entire guitar. It just did what it did, and it's like this magical hunk of wood and pickups and the sum of all parts that was the first guitar he's ever had in his hands, that it did it naturally. Okay, that in itself is cool. But when you can make it happen for every guitar, why not? So if you want a Sustainiac, you can make one just by being Frankenstein and never have to even buy the guitar. Just understanding how a graphic EQ works. So James, my friend, I picked up the goofiest guitar I could find to show you this. So it don't matter whether it's this or any guitar in the world, Esteban guitars over there. It don't matter. It's all frequencies. The pickup doesn't matter. None of it matters. It's just notes. And here it comes. It's nothing but the EQ. There's nothing else on. There's no compression. There's no reverb. There's no anything to make it happen other than the graphic EQ. Okay, and distortion. Okay, and there's not that much gain on it at all. It's just there because it works better with it. Okay, so that's it. And it's a preamp distortion, and it's the tubes, 212 AX7s in the amp. So here come the notes at you, and I'll just kind of show them to you and let you see what I'm talking about. So. So there you go, Chief. I know, annoying as hell, but just to prove to you that every note, and it'll do it in every octave, of course. Nobody needs a Sustainiac when you have that. So an equalizer, it's a beautiful thing. Again, but you have to know all the stuff. I know you want me to give you a magic solution how to get that and how to get my so-called boner tone. The boner tone I can get out of any rig. Heck, the ones that you've heard before on different things, God, Fender solid state amps, you know, and just before I even had the Johnson, you know, I was using the little Fender, what was it, Ultra Chorus, and I was getting it out of that, I was getting it out of the Twin, I was getting it out of everything. You know, it's just, it's in your brain how to control the things and how to play your effects, you know, if you're in case of the boner tone. But the Sustainiac thing, there is just no reason to chop up guitars or whatever. If you have them in there, cool, you know, whatever, use them, enjoy eating up your batteries, but, you know, the batteries aren't going to drain that much. I mean, it's a good product. Hey, and for those who looking for Fernandez guitars, again, eBay or whatever, whenever you're looking, misspell it like everybody does and put a Z at the end like it's not spelled. Nobody ever looks at their headstock. You know, I'm pretty sure that's an R at the end of that. I-E-R, but they all spell it I-R-E. Again, eBay will allow for that particular Squire thing to be found, even if you spell it wrong, because so many people do. But if you're looking for Fernandez and you want to spell it with a Z and find all the ones that nobody else is finding, unless they can't spell either, that one still generates a whole different list of Fernandez guitars than those who spell it with an S. So keep that in mind if you're looking for those. So people who can't spell, they find a lot of the good ones. The people who can really spell, they can't find the ones that the dumbasses listed that can't spell, even though it's right there for them to read. Okay, so James, I appreciate you asking, and ask any questions, and again, that's how I get it. So it's electronically done through an equalizer, and a lot of just, like I said, a guide there, and I would know it anyway because I've just dealt with this stuff forever. And you sit there and actually boost or cut each frequency you need or don't need, because there will be some that you want to cut because you'll never want them in there. But then again, you'll really want to boost if you want like a certain part of an E, if you want that fifth to feed back before the third will feed back, then you can control that via the EQ. And then if you get if you want more, you can again add another EQ on there, which is different, which is a 2/3 band EQ, which actually gets every frequency in between. They're usually 27 band EQs instead of 31, but they get the frequencies that are in between all the others. If you really want to narrow it down and do it so that the frequencies themselves are the only things you're changing, most real EQs, if you move up one fader of EQs, say you move up 1K, it'll actually add 800 and 630 and then all the way up to 2K, maybe up to 4. It does a whole big slope thing, but peaks out at the 1K, if that makes sense. But if you put it on a just a Q where it actually does just that one frequency, and then you put in a 27 band EQ, then you've got, I mean, everything nailed, and you whip every bit of this into shape so that it will act exactly how you want it, whereas a Sustainiac will not. So you can control your musicality by programming. Okay, so that is that. If anybody else is listening, I know you're bored to death, but my buddy James is definitely important enough to make a video for him. You're a monster friend, my friend, and be groovy. I shall talk to you shortly. And remember, guys, think pink. I'll just leave it at that. All right. Later.